Most people are busy decorating a cubicle in the American delusion. They're chasing a paycheck that barely covers the cost of their stress. But a true builder isn't looking for a salary, they're looking for a footprint that outlives them. As the great Bob Buford once said, the first half of life is about success, and the second half is about significance. Today, we're talking about how to make that shift, moving from the grinder's loop to the master's blueprint. I'm Jesse Wood, and let's build together. Hungry to walk in your God-given purpose, but the process feels slower or more hidden than you expected? You're not alone. This is the Jesse Wood Show, where we give voice to the real process behind God-designed purpose. I created this space for faith-driven builders like you to help you recognize the importance of the season that God has you in and what He's doing in you during it, because what He builds in you matters just as much as what He builds through you. I'm Jesse Wood. Welcome to the podcast, and let's build together. In the Bible, specifically in the book of Nehemiah, we see a man who lived around 445 BC. And Nehemiah was the cupbearer to the king of Persia. Now, this wasn't just a service role. He was the king's most trusted advisor. He literally held the king's life in his hands every single day. He had the palace life, he had the security, and he had status. But when he heard that the walls of Jerusalem, his ancestral home, where he's from, when he heard that those walls were in ruins, his heart broke. He realized that he was being called out of the palace and into a project. Nehemiah 2:18 says, "They said, 'Let us rise up and build.' So they strengthened their hands for this good work." Seventh step in the builder blueprint I talk about in my book, The Purpose-Driven Business Builder's Blueprint. BUILDER is the acronym. R stands for Rise and Build. And this is a lot where the inspiration of this came from, but it came from my personal story. I know exactly what it's like to see your walls come down. And in 2017, I hit a wilderness season that most people only see in movies. I went from building to literally just trying to breathe financially. I had a divorce, I had an eviction, I had a vehicle repossession. The walls of my life weren't just cracked. They were literally destroyed and gone. And I had to decide, am I just going to sit in this rubble and complain and play the blame game? Or am I going to let God rebuild the builder, myself, before He rebuilds my life and builds me into building business? See, Nehemiah, when he looked at the rubble, he didn't see a problem. Instead, he saw an opportunity and an invitation, and then what became a project from God. And if you read my book and you've listened to the podcast, you know that God always builds the builder before He builds the building. And so it doesn't really matter where you are right now, whether things are incredible or things are terrible or somewhere in between. The point is that God's going to call you. He already has called you. And He's asking, will you begin to build with me? And trust that He's going to guide you along the way. And the biggest prayer I had in that wilderness season is not God, restore everything back. I said, you know what, God, let me see this as a blessing. You're giving me a fresh start, just a blank canvas for you to build whatever you want on, to paint a new picture, a clear foundation, a clear plot of land to build whatever you want on. I'm going to just trust you to be the builder and instead of me. And I recently spoke with the legendary John Hewitt. You can catch him in a previous episode. And he confirmed what literally every entrepreneur needs to hear, is that if your business stops working when you stop working, you don't have a business, you have a job. And so to truly rise and build, we've got to go through this process of becoming aware, of your scenario, unplugging from the things that have been working or the things that you're just afraid to let go, the remnants of the past that God's given, asking you to give up, all those hurts, the betrayals. You got to unplug from those things. You got to get God's identity, who you are as a son. Start to lay framework on top of that identity. Begin to do work, expand your capacity, and then now rise and build. You have to go from being just a kid in training to a mature son or daughter in the kingdom who really can be trusted with the keys. You have to shift your mind from simply just trying to go after success, which I was married, had a kid, had the job, was doing the things. But you got to make the shift from purely just trying to be successful to significance. And when I re-entered the financial industry in 2023, I didn't just come back for a paycheck. I had done that before. I was desperate to try to pay the bills, but I had also hit a ceiling in the corporate financial industry I was in because of corporate politics. Then when I entered into starting to build a business and an agency, I lacked a lot of mentorship, and it just wasn't right. It wasn't the right fit, and I didn't know what I was looking for. I didn't really have anybody helping me or guiding me. So this time in 2023, I came back with, first of all, a word from the Lord. It's like Nehemiah finding out that, hey, this walls are broken, and I need you to come help me build something over here in my land, in the kingdom. And so first off, it was an invitation from God to say, hey, I need you to come help me build the kingdom over here in this area. And what was incredible is God connected me with the right place, the right systems, right mentorship. And I went from wilderness to being the number one finisher in 4 national academies because I stopped simply just trying to grind and started focusing on, first of all, doing work as if unto the Lord. So giving it my all, but already implementing systems and a new mindset based on scaling. And I realized that the currency of the kingdom is souls, it's people. And I can't go save everybody. Not even Jesus spent his whole time on the planet. Instead, he put his spirit into a crazy motley crew of guys that then started spreading the gospel. This is scaling. This is duplicating. So I realized the same thing. I got to get a hold of people. They're going to get a hold of other people. They're going to get a hold of other people. And I just got to have really good mentorship and growth, just like Jesus had with the inner 3 and then the 12 and the 72. And you see Paul had a Timothy. This is how the kingdom scales and grows. This is how the kingdom rises and truly builds. So if I couldn't duplicate myself, then I'll never walk in dominion. I'll just have a high-paying task. The moment I stop, the significance and the impact stops. Jim Rohn famously put it this way. He says, wages make you a living, but profits make you a fortune. But in the kingdom of God, I like to say another step further than that. Stewardship creates a legacy and kingdom impact and growth. As you build higher, as you look among the stars, recently we had a rocket ship head towards the moon. Big deal. It's massive. Literally going out of this world. As you begin to shoot for the moon, you have to keep your eye, though, on the cornerstone. Matthew 7:24 tells us that the wise man builds his house upon the rock, and when the rain falls, it stands. And we also know the cornerstone, as the Bible describes it, as Jesus. So being aligned with your purpose is trying to build something in your purpose. Let me set something straight really quick. Is what you don't want to do is end up having career and job and things like that and then have a side quest or a side project of purpose. Now, what I mean by that, I don't mean that you can't be at church and church is different than your job. I'm not saying that can't be the thing. That situation may be right for you. It may be wrong for somebody else. It all depends on what Christ, the cornerstone, is saying to you. He's saying, when he's saying you need to align with me, we have to align to the cornerstone first and foremost. So if you're not sure if what you're doing is out of just survival or striving, or if you're for sure like, hey, God's called me to this job, I'm a witness in this thing, or whatever it is, and don't look in the mirror and just gas yourself up about it because you're afraid to be honest. Take a moment and be honest. God might give you even more encouragement when you let him tell you, or maybe you will face the truth and he's saying, hey, it's time to make a shift. And let's do it before you run out of time. And what's really getting in your way? Is it lack of trust in me? Is it fear? What is it? But let's stop wasting time in that thing. You have to build your house upon the rock, not just some good looking hard sand that nobody's going to question you about because you got a good job and benefits and things. That's right for some people. It's wrong for other people. All right. So I'm not trying to blanket what your life should look like, but what all of our lives should look like is aligned with the cornerstone. We should all be aligned. So if I ever run into you, I'd just say, hey, question is, do you have full, absolute, complete peace that you're fully aligned with the cornerstone? And if not, what is that thing that's not right? What do we need to start doing that we haven't been doing? And what's the biggest obstacle that might stand in our way? And what are some solutions to that? C.S. Lewis says that integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. And in building, integrity is making sure that the foundation is square before you ever put up a wall. Don't build something God didn't authorize just because you have the resources to do it, or because you can, or it makes sense, or we've gone too far to make a change. I'm talking about your kingdom builder integrity is doing the right thing for how it is you're creating income or what you're doing in your business, even when nobody else knows that it should be different. Nobody else can see. They have no idea. It's like they're completely blind. And you could get away with all kinds of stuff. All right, I'm opening this up a little bit for you in your mind. And I'm not trying to beat you up. I'm trying to give you a sense of urgency because I love you. I don't want you to waste any more time. And if it's scary, that's fine. Let's talk about the fear. Let's talk about how crazy it is. Let's talk about how good things are that you might have to give up. Jesus had a rich young ruler come to him and say, hey, what must I do to enter the kingdom of God? And the Lord Jesus said, hey, sell everything. And it says that he went away depressed and sad. Sometimes success and having life really good can make you the last one to be obedient to the Lord.
Vision isn't permission to rush. It's an invitation to trust. Like Abraham, sometimes you're called to move without seeing the full destination. Everyone wants to build what they feel called to build. But calling often comes before visibility, like David in the field. When God gives you a vision, it's not so you can force it to happen. Like Joseph, there are seasons where the dream is clear, but the path is quiet. Before God builds something with you, he builds you, the builder. Like Moses in formation, and Nehemiah laying foundations that last. The Purpose-Driven Business Builder's Blueprint was created to help you recognize your season and build it right. Learn more at purposedrivenbuilder.com.
While the person who has nothing and is desperate will be the first one to be obedient. But here we see with Nehemiah, he's basically the rich young ruler guy, the guy who had a good setup that said, you know what, I'm doing something different. I got to go. I got to answer the call. I feel this burden in my heart and my spirit. and I don't know what it's going to look like, but hey, you know what, King? Hey, thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been an honor serving you. I'm forever grateful, but I got to go. I got to do something different. I felt that way when I left my last corporate job. I handed my 2 weeks notice to the vice president. And I'd even talked to my community director. She happened to be out of the office when I was turning in my 2 weeks. So I had to go to the VP. They already know, and they heard me say, hey, you know what? Like, this is a pretty good gig. It's a decent setup. I've kind of lost faith, though, in putting my my whole future in your hands, because I don't feel like you're appreciating me. You're giving opportunities to other people, and then you're asking me to train them. It's a little crazy, honestly. So I don't really trust you with my future. I feel like I'm just going to keep wasting time here. But I would rather quit, go out there, figure out if walking on water is truly possible with the Lord, fail at it miserably, crash and burn in a glorious ball of flames. I'd rather do that and come back, start punching the clock again. At least now I can sit in this cubicle and know that this is the best I could get out of life. But I would have to be able to have that peace and an assurance of knowing that this is the best I can get if I'm going to sit here for another 30 years. So I got to go try this thing. I got to try it. And so I left. So glad I did. And I'm officially unemployable. I'm unhireable. Nobody could give me, I don't care what job you're offering. If it's taken away from my ability to build exactly what God's calling me to do, I don't want it. I'd rather be broke as a joke with everyone laughing than go do that. I'm fully employed by the Lord in the kingdom. Let me teach you the 3 pillars of how to rise and build. Pillar 1 is divine sovereignty. This is also in the story of Nehemiah, the picture of the sword and the trowel. So catch this. Nehemiah's builders, the position that they were in, they literally had to work with a little trowel in one hand and a sword in the other. They were literally having to defend themselves while also building. I can tell you, entrepreneurship feels like that sometimes. Like, hey, can I just build something and not have something crazy happen? Something come out of nowhere? And sometimes it feels like you're just fighting off all the crazy stuff trying to get at you that you make no progress building. So they figured out this balance of having to do both. But the good news is they're doing it with the Lord. Psalm 127:1 says, unless the Lord builds the house, the laborers work in vain. I remember being in the beginning and then working through deeper and deeper into the middle of my transition, getting from that corporate job, first jumping out and then getting farther and farther away from that. The last day I walked out the front door, and the further I got into like the middle of that transition, I'm feeling even more the pressure of the herd, the people pile, as John Maxwell calls it, telling me to just take the easy way out. Hey, why don't you just go get a real job? Why don't you just come back? Several times they called and offered me a job back. But good news is God was giving me a sword. And what's the sword? It's his word. So I had to hold the sword, his word, his truth. But he was telling me every day, prophetic words I had received. I have them in my phone, on my computer, in my Google Drive, recordings. I have so many. God was so good. He was giving me specific words in that season over and over again. Through complete strangers, through friends, through family members. He was sharpening my sword every day because he knew I needed it. I'm fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting like crazy. I had to hold that sword and fight over my purpose and my future, my future family's future, my current family's future, while also learning how to figure out this trowel and start building. Now, God started building inside of me first, but that's still work. That's still external work, creating internal shift. And then when I started building a financial brokerage in 2023, even more building. The building just went to a whole nother level, even more external. But you have to be willing sometimes to be the only person on the wall who sees the finished product. It's like Joshua and Caleb. Just a couple people out of 12 spies that could see where God was taking them at the promised land, despite, and it's going to be a lot to build this thing. It's going to take a lot. Instead of saying, I don't know, I can do it, say, well, I don't know how, but I know who I'm with. And that's the Lord. He's never failed us and he never will. Some of y'all got to stick. Yeah, you gotta stop asking God how and just realize who you're with already, and then ask who am I supposed to build with? Who should I connect to? Who should I ask to mentor me? Who should I partner with? Because God's about family. He's about his kids. Pillar 2 of rising and building is legacy stewardship. True builder, thinks about the next quarter century, not just the next quarter in business. And in business, I understand this. I live from quarter to quarter based on numbers, and we have academies and trainings, and it helps you break down your goals and takes an elephant and turns it into little bite-sized pieces. But what's that elephant? That elephant is the next quarter century. So I am thinking about it. I see the elephant, and I don't know how, but I know who. And then I break down into quarters. All right, God, what are we doing this quarter practically to chip away at this thing? But I'm not so consumed with, oh my gosh, this quarter, I got to make this happen. I got to make that happen, because you'll end up in fear and not focus on the right things. You never get to the elephant. You never build a big thing because you're spinning your tires in survival mode. So hopefully you can understand the difference of what I'm saying to you. This is also a shift from healthcare to wealth care. See, growing up poor, growing up in low middle class, fluctuated back and forth. It felt like we were always sick. Something was always broken. There was always something sick in a way, if you can just let me use that analogy. Something just was always not right. So it felt like you're constantly healthcare. You're diagnosing. You're in the doctor. You're taking prescriptions. Like, the moment something starts to get going, boom, something else is happening. And now that's a problem. I got to fix this. Just never felt healthy. But when you're healthy and God's bringing more into your world, because now you're a solid foundation and you're rising up into this thing, now you go from healthy to wealthy. And now we shift into wealth care. It's like, wow, how do I steward this? And this is biblical. Proverbs 13:22 says, a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. It does not say a good man tries to keep his kids healthy. Now, of course, that's included, because the kid's got to live past you to receive the inheritance. But notice the focus. It's not even a conversation about, are the kids going to make it? Of course, the kids are going to make it. We're going to do everything we can for them. But you are thinking greater and bigger. You're thinking inheritance and legacy and stewarding that legacy. Then pillar 3, rising and building, is the finished wall, which is the testimony. Nehemiah 6:16 says that when the wall was finished in 52 days, the nations realized it was done with the help of God. This is so cool. Your business, what you are currently building, God is not just trying to help you figure it out and survive and be successful. He's got this sly eye, sly grin rubbing his hands together, dreaming big about the power of the testimony that he's going to have in his hands to wield and to show off to all those that he's still trying to invite. He wants to show off how your business becomes a living testimony that God moves big, and he moves big in the marketplace, not just in the church when you're sitting in the pew consistently and putting money in the offering basket. That's not just the only place God moves. God moves in the marketplace. He moves in business. He moves everywhere there's sowing and reaping. Everything that causes this world to go round, that's what God's into. That's what he created. Newsflash, God didn't create a church building in the Garden of Eden. His presence was it. But what he built was an ecosystem where we could grow together and be together. He could love on us. We could love on him. And so he sent Jesus. Thank you, Lord. That's why we celebrate Resurrection Sunday, also known as Easter. We're talking about Jesus resurrecting. Why? For restoration, to get us back into the garden. And God saying, hey, can you come give me a chance to show you what I'm trying to do in your world? Not just when you show up on Sunday, but also in the business meeting on Monday, in the client meeting on Tuesday, in the pitching that big offer on Wednesday, and getting the books right on Thursday. And then trying to hold a networking event on Friday. Whatever it is you're doing, God's like, can I show up? Can I just be everywhere because I love you? Can we do this thing together? But the wall isn't going to build itself. Rising and building comes in the wake of doing work, and dominion starts with do. John Maxwell says, dreams don't work unless you do. So I want you to think, pause this before you move on to the next piece of media content, the next thing you begin to consume. Just pause this and identify one brick of obedience you've been avoiding and just lay it today. And just lay it. Move from a grinder to a legacy builder. Ask God, hey, where are you wanting me to build? Where are you calling me? And what's a step I can make in that direction? What do you need me to do there? And remind me again, the big vision. Help me see what this big wall is supposed to look like. What's the big idea of this thing? Not just the little brick and that obedience. Get that why again. Let God minister to your heart. Ask him to give you a big dream. Now, if you're ready to see if your foundation is ready for the weight of what's next in your life, I want you to go to builderquiz.com, get your builder site inspection, and find out what season you're actually in. You've been tuning in to the Jesse Wood Show. I am Jesse Wood. I so appreciate you. Let's build together.